there! Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son get together and talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things we enjoy. We're bringing a brief book blast episode to you today, as Zach here is going to talk about the next book in his journey through James S.A. Corey's The Expanse.
Mm-hmm.
He's focused on Nemesis Games today. That would be book
5.
4, 5. It's been a while since I've read these now, but it's a little fresher in his mind. I'm interested to see what he thought of it. There is previous content. If you want to know what I thought of Nemesis Games, go find that. But today, it's all about Zach. If you enjoyed this episode, like it down below. We hope you subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that yet. Leave us comments in the comment box and check the show notes for the other ways you can get in touch with us, including joining our Discord server where you can keep up the conversation with Zach and I and all sorts of other people who are already hanging out there with us. All right, Zach, Nemesis Games. What did you think?
This was simultaneously one of my favorite books in The Expanse and one of my least favorite books in The Expanse.
Interesting.
And the reason it comes down to it has some of the most just like numerous plot lines going on. We have a bunch of different storylines in a bunch of different places.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them I loved. And some of them were okay. And so it was like half the book is so good and half the book is okay. And I'm flipping back and forth between it.
Okay.
And so it's not bad, by all means. I enjoyed this book. But it doesn't have, like, my top slot in The Expanse just because it was tempered by the parts that I didn't like as much.
Okay. Now, you haven't finished the entire Expanse series yet. You're still
I'm at
working through
7 out of 9.
Yeah. But this does play a key role in the overall story arc.
It does.
When you finished it, you were still definitely interested to keep going, right?
Yes, and I will say this book, maybe it's a detractor from this book even. It feels incomplete. Nemesis Games and the one after it feels like a part 1, part 2.
Mm-hmm. You know, when you're writing a bigger 9-book story arc, it can be hard to have a self-contained story that's perfectly satisfying in just one of those books. Sometimes things bleed. They just have to carry over.
Now, I do want to throw out a quick little character highlight here and offhandedly mention a specific character.
Go for it.
Naomi Nagata shines in this book. We see elements to her character that we haven't really seen before, we haven't talked about before, and they often subvert expectations of what should be this character or this role of a type of character, but in a way that works really well and makes things where it's like, that shouldn't be right. Instead, it is, and it's a good, valid thing, but you also needed it to be book 5 for that to work.
Mm-hmm. This is a book, and I'm interested if you feel this way. When I read it, it felt like the story of The Expanse shifted a gear. You know, it went from where the story was talking about, and now we're going a new level. There's a new, bigger story that we're going to enter into. Did you feel that way?
I simultaneously agree and disagree. I felt more like this book, while it does change the playing field, it drastically changes what we're looking at in our worlds. It's just shifting the landscape, maybe changing the players, but it doesn't necessarily bring a totally new, like inhumanly new element to the story. And The Expanse often kind of fluctuates between mysterious things that are not necessarily of human origin, and problems that arise of human origin using or around those things. This book really feels more in the vein of the human origin area. That's super valid and makes for a really compelling story, but I don't think necessarily does quite as big of a jump into, and now for something totally new, that the alien nature of things often brings.
Okay. You mentioned Naomi as the one that you really think shines in this one. Is
She's
there
not the only
any...
one.
What's that?
She's not the only one.
But she was the one that really came to mind for you. You have some other characters you want to highlight that you really appreciate how they are played out in this book?
Yeah, let's. She's gonna be my one there. Now we're gonna
Okay.
talk my number two. Amos also really shines in this book for a lot of the same reasons that are very, very different. We see a lot of almost mirrored storylines for them in this book, but mirrored in a drastically different sense of scale, scope, environment, and we do get a little bit of more backstory on both of them.
Yes, we do.
Their stories
I love
in
Amos
this book
in this story
are the ones that
Yeah.
really shined and were awesome. It was the other people's stories that were just okay.
Okay, that's fair. But I would definitely reverse the order. Amos is number one for me in this. Naomi sometimes just frustrated the heck out of me.
I love a broken character.
But both of those are broken characters.
Yes. I think I enjoy seeing other parts in other books, other places, Amos better. And I almost think getting to see it on screen as I've been watching through the show of The Expanse, it gives a three-dimensionality to that character that is really fun to get to see.
Yes. Agreed.
Honestly, more and more as I compare book and show Amos and do all this, I'm like, are you just a well-written neurodivergent character? I think you might be.
Yeah. I have to admit, between the books and the show, when I first saw the actor playing Amos, I was like, what? Nah, that didn't work for me. And yet it took very little time before I was just, now that's all I see. I see that actor even when I'm reading the books.
It's not what is described, but he embodies the character very well.
He does so well. All right. Any last word on Nemesis Games before we wrap for today?
If you got this far into the series, you're going to finish The Expanse. I don't have to sell you on this book. And I definitely don't have to sell you on the next one because you need to read it.
Truth has been said. That's all we got then, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.